ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। हरि ओम तत्सत। So we were seeing the Adhyasa Bhashya of Shankaracharya. Adhyasa Bhashya is a Bhashya or commentary on superimposition. Adhyasa means superimposition. So we were seeing this, which is the preamble or the introduction to the commentary on Brahma Sutras by Shankaracharya. Now this preamble starts with an objection. Traditionally, in Indian philosophy, we study texts where we posit or we raise an objection, which is a probable objection, which can come from the opponent. So, for example, a person believes in, say, medicine, and another person doesn't believe in medicine. So, if the person who believes in medicine or practices medicine wants to say that these are the salient features of medicine, and these are the benefits of medicine, and so hence medicine is something which should be practiced. So what traditionally in Indian philosophy we do is that we raise an objection which we imagine ourselves, that if there were a opponent, what would have that opponent told, and we raise this objection. So this objection is an imaginary objection which is raised by the person who is not the opponent, but who is expecting opposition to come in such a form. So automatically this kind of an objection suffers from a limitation, that is, that objection is raised by a person who is not objecting. So it may not be harsh, or it may be extra harsh, it may be less critical, or it may be more critical, depending on the intelligence and depending on the understanding of the person who is positing such an imaginary opposition that might have come. For example, if a person does not believe in medicine and wants to prove one standpoint that medicine is not necessary, for that person should have been completely schooled in medicine to properly raise the objection that would have come from a person who might have been a physician or a doctor, who might have raised these objections. So if you want to raise objections which might have been raised by your opponent, you should know opponent's school of thought also thoroughly. If you don't know the opponent's school of thought thoroughly, how can you raise an objection which the opponent might have raised? And so here the point is that objection is always raised by people who are supposed to know the standpoint, the philosophy of the person who might have objected. The tradition in Indian philosophy is that when you want to put forth your standpoint or your argument in philosophy, then you raise objections that might come from your opposing parties. Okay, so that has been wonderfully done by Shankaracharya in all his commentaries. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, in his commentary on the Upanishads, it has been done wonderfully well. Why? Because he has a thorough understanding of all the other standpoints, all the other philosophies which are opposing his philosophy, and his philosophy being Advaita Vedanta. Now this tradition is called as Purva Paksha. Paksha means standpoint. Standpoint or the side. Paksha also means side. And standpoint. So Purva means the previous side, or here it means the opposing party, opposing side, opponent. So Purva Paksha, an argument is raised which could have been raised or might have been raised or might be raised by your opposite party. So instead of saying that I am a fool myself, I say that you may say that I am a fool, but thereby I try to tell you, I put words in your mouth. I say that you might say that I am a fool, but then because of such and such logic, because of such and such rationale, I am not a fool. You see, this is how it is built, and this is a wonderful way of reasoning, and that tradition you can find in all the philosophical works, particularly the polemical or commentaries, polemical works, works which analyze a particular text, critically analyze a particular text. There you see this, and that is called Purva Paksha. And if somebody has an objection, just like we see nowadays in newspapers or academic journals or even in magazines, that somebody has said something. Say
Counter view.
someone
You counter
says,
view.
yeah, someone says capital punishment is necessary. So you have a series of articles for capital punishment. And then after some time in the same journal or in the magazine, you will see a series of articles against capital punishment. So here also the same thing is being done. You have a particular series of arguments for your what you call standpoint, which is in reply to objection which might be raised against your standpoint. So that is why it is called Purva Paksha, and it is very important. Purva Paksha, or we say objection. It is in English translated as objection. So this is the objection. What is the objection? That this cannot be there, etc., etc. Now Shankaracharya begins his preamble or the introduction to Brahma Sutra commentary by an objection. He is positing an objection which might be raised by his opponent. What is the objection? The objection is very simple. The objection is that, you see, you are always talking that there is superimposition. There is confusing of the conscious with the unconscious. There is confusion of the real with the unreal. So the objection is, how can such a confusion take place? Confusion will take place only among similar items. Confusion cannot take place among dissimilar items. If there is a mango, you may confuse that mango with something that appears to be mango.
Right.
If there is an apple, you may confuse that apple to be something, confuse it with something that appears to be an apple. You cannot confuse an apple with, say, banana. How is it possible? Because they are entirely different. But even then they fall in the category of fruit. So even then there is some similarity. But when you are talking about conscious and we are talking about unconscious or non-conscious, when you are talking about conscious matter, conscious Brahman, and you are talking about inert matter, where is the similarity? There is no similarity. And since there is no similarity, how can there be a confusion, or how can there be superimposition? Superimposition is that in our classical Vedantic example, there is a dark noon and there is a coiled rope, and rope is confused to be snake. But that also is coiled, this also is coiled. Okay, so there is some similarity, yes, confused to be snake. But here this world is unreal, this universe is unreal. And Brahman, the ultimate reality, is real, it is conscious, and it is blissful. How can you confuse so different things with one another? That is the opposition. And so Shankaracharya in the beginning itself brings a brilliant argument which is in the core of all the problems which we suffer. You see, religion comes because there is suffering. The pursuit of religion starts because there is suffering. The pursuit of spirituality starts because there is suffering. If there were no suffering, why would someone come to religion? If there was, see, that is the whole point of Buddha. There is suffering, and so to get rid of suffering, you come to dharma or religion or the path. So suffering, now what is critical in suffering? Critical in suffering is confusion. We always suffer because of lack of clarity. Now why does this confusion come? So first, Before you can understand the solution or you can arrive at the solution, you should understand clearly the problem. Before the physician tries to treat you, she or he should understand your disease. So the diagnosis is the first step. So here also Shankaracharya is now trying to prove that there is superimposition. And so this bhashya is popularly, traditionally called Adhyasa Bhashya. Adhyasa means superimposition. That means this part of the bhashya, that is the introduction to the bhashya proper, is called Adhyasa Bhashya because this is a bhashya on superimposition, whereby Shankaracharya will explain what superimposition is, not only explain but logically, cogently, rationally prove that there is superimposition. So in order to do that, in the beginning itself, Shankaracharya brings an argument that there is no superimposition. And so our text starts with these words. What are the words? Yushmad. So you have to understand the breaking of the words because you had wrongly broken those words. So you have to understand properly how they are broken, the Sandhi Vichcheda. And also it will help you to understand the words, meaning of those words in proper clarity. Yushmad. Yushmad means what? Yushmad means you.
You.
You. Yushmad. Asmad. Asmad means I.
We.
I. Asmad means I. Vayam means we. Asmad means I. Yushmad, Asmad. Pratyaya means notion. So Pratyayoho means two notions. Dvivachana. It is in Sanskrit we have three numbers: singular, dual, and plural. Unlike in many other languages where we have only singular and plural, in Sanskrit we have singular, dual, and plural. So Yushmad, you, Asmad, I, Pratyaya, Pratyayoho, that means of the notions, two notions, Gocharayoho, that means the things that are understood. Gochara. Go means what? Go means what? Go means senses. You see, go means Sanskrit is a very wonderful language. You have to understand it. That's all. To go little deeper, and you get this delight of knowing things. Go is senses. Chara means that which can be reached. Gochara means that which can be reached by senses. So Gochara can mean that which is comprehended, that which is understood. So Govinda. Govinda. Vinda means one who knows. Go means senses. So one who knows the senses means what? One who has conquered the senses. So Krishna Govinda. If you put the meaning go to mean cows there, that means one who knows the cows. That also will work there. Cowherd, Sri Krishna, Govinda. Gopala, one who protects the cows or
Cows.
who minds the cows. So it can also, there also you can say go means senses, one who minds the senses. So Yushmad, Asmad, Pratyaya, Gocharayoho. That means Yushmad means you, Asmad means I, Pratyaya means concepts, notions, Gocharayoho. So among the concepts denoted by the words you and I, Vishaya Vishayinoho. And what are they denoting? Vishaya, the object, Vishayinaha, subject.
Subject.
Vishaya, the object, Vishayinaha, the subject. They are denoting that. So Yushmat is denoting Vishaya, object. Asmat is denoting subject. Now you see, the point is, why should Shankaracharya select the words Yushmat for object? Usually when we see an object, we say this. We don't say you. We don't say a book and say you come here. We say this. So that is in neuter gender. Why is Shankaracharya selecting this? Because he wants
Unconscious.
to emphasize the difference. So when I say this can be used in connection with me. I am like this. I am this. Okay. So Shankaracharya doesn't want even that kind. Popularly we use I am like this, or I am this, etc., etc. So or this is my body, etc. We popularly use this in connection with us, but we never use you in connection with us. And so Shankaracharya is so careful that he doesn't want you to find any similarity between these two words. And that is why immediately he says, what does he say? He says means he says that the opponent is saying, the
Well
objection
said.
is saying. What is he saying?
Said.
Tama prakashavat viruddha swabhavayoho. Viruddha swabhavayoho. Having completely different, completely contradictory, completely opposite
Nature.
natures. Swabhava, nature.
Nature.
Completely viruddha, opposing natures. Like what? Tama prakashavat. Like darkness and light. So see the examples also he has taken. Darkness and light, there is no way you can see any similarity there. So they are completely dissimilar. Yushmad, Asmad, completely dissimilar. And so here he also puts it, clarifies it, that object and subject completely dissimilar. How? You see, subject is what? Not just subject means what? Consciousness. One who sees, one who is the witness. And object is what? The witnessed. Subject is what? The seer. Object is what? The seen. So there
The
is complete
scene.
difference. The complete difference. Completely opposite characteristics. That is what is there here. You have to understand. In psychology, why do we get so much problem? Why do we get so much mental suffering? Because of the other. That is the words. That is exactly the phrase used in psychology or philosophy. The other. You see, the moment you see the other, mother never gets any problem. Mother has no problem. Though the child is different, mother has no problem because the mother is only mothering, she is not othering. You see, the moment we remove M, we start othering. Then everywhere you get problem. But mother, you see, the child also is othering. The child is not connected so much to the mother as the mother is connected to the child. So our whole problem is
Child.
difference. Our whole problem is differentiation. The root cause of all kinds of suffering, as Brihadaranyaka Upanishad will say, is Dvitiyat, because of duality. Dvitiyat by Bhayam Bhavati. And Shankaracharya is so brilliant that in the very first sentence he brings this aspect. So we have to understand this is the whole idea of duality, the whole idea of othering, or the whole idea of differentiation. He has so succinctly put it as an argument against superimposition. And using the very argument, we will see that he will prove that superimposition exists. Now the question is, how is it that something which is unconscious can be mistaken for something which is conscious? So again it says, itara bhava anupapattau. Anupapattau means on the impossibility. Anupapatti means impossibility, implausibility, or being illogical. Anupapatti. Itara bhava. That means mutual. Itara means mutual. Bhava, identity. So there can be no mutual identity. Itare tara bhava. When you add it as, when you bring them in conjunction, make them compound, it will become itare tara bhava. So there can be no mutual identity. That is the idea. No mutual identity. How can there be identity? Because there is one thing is conscious, another one is matter.
One.
There can be no identity. Itaretara bhava anupapatti means it is illogical, implausible. Darkness and light can have no identity whatsoever. Siddhayam. It is proven. It is not that the opponent is now bringing that you see because of so many factors, darkness and light are different. No, it is a proven, it is a well established fact. Siddhayam. When it is proven that two things completely opposite to each other, one another, just like darkness and light, can have no mutual identity whatsoever. Itaretara bhava, and you see, concentrate on the breakings. Itara bhava anupapattihi or anupapattau siddhayam. When it has been made certain, when it is certain, proven, then tat tad dharmanam api sutaram itara bhava anupapattihi. When it is proven that two things mutually contradict to each other, one another, have no mutual identity whatsoever, when it is established, then tad dharmanam, their attributes, those two things which are mutually contradictory, mutually opposing, like darkness and light, their attributes, tad means their, dharmanam, attributes, api, also, sutaram, therefore, itara bhava anupapattihi, or all the more, sutaram, all the more, or therefore. When two things themselves are opposite to one another and there can be no mutual identity, therefore it goes without saying, or all the more, their attributes also cannot have mutual identity. How you cannot say, oh, darkness and light are not mutually identical, but their properties are mutually identical. Because anything is made out of its attributes. How can the thing itself not be identical but attributes be identical? It makes no sense. So you cannot say that. So those things are mutually not identical. It is illogical, implausible. It is proven. If that is proven, then it is also proven, all the more it is impossible that the attributes or qualities of these two things can be mutually identical. Okay. Iti atah. Because of this, iti, this is what we have understood. Atah, therefore, asmat pratyaya gochare vishayini chid atmake. Chidatmake. What is chidatma? Conscious self. Conscious atman. In on conscious atman, which is vishayini, on the subject, asmat pratyaya gochare, which is understood, denoted by the pratyaya, notion, concept of I, asmat, I, pratyaya, concept, gochare, that which is denoted or which is contained in the concept of I. What is that? Chidatmake, conscious self, or Vishayini, the subject. On that subject, Yushmad Pratyaya Gocharasya Vishayasya. On that subject, Yushmad Pratyaya, the concept of Yushmat, Gocharasya, that which is denoted by the concept of Yushmat or you. Vishayasya, what is that? The object. So on the subject, the object, what is the object? It is you or that concept which is denoted by you, the word you. On that, the subject, or sorry, on the subject, the subject is what? Chidatmaka. That means
I,
Asmat.
I,
But what is it? Chit Atmaka. That is the nature of conscious Atman. That, and also Tad Dharmanam cha, and also their attributes. Adhyasah cannot happen. What is the objection? That on object, on subject, you cannot superimpose the object, because subject is conscious self
conscious,
and I, and object is you, and it is not conscious.
unconscious,
So you cannot impose this unconscious thing on conscious.
conscious,
Also, you cannot impose their attributes also on one another. Tad viparyayena. Also, viparyaya means contradiction or falsity, but here actually error. Viparyaya means error, but here it means conversely. Conversely, tad viparyayena, by implication conversely. What conversely? Vishayinam, Vishayinah tad dharmanam cha vishaye adhyasah. Just like you cannot superimpose the object on the subject and the attributes of the object on the attributes of the subject, similarly you cannot automatically you cannot superimpose by implication the subject on the object.
the object,
Object
vice
cannot be
versa.
superimposed on subject, and the attributes of objects cannot be superimposed on the attributes of subject. Similarly, vice versa, you cannot superimpose the subject on the object, or you cannot superimpose the attributes of the subject on the attributes of the object. So he says adhyasah, this is superimposition, mithya iti bhavitum yuktam. So this superimposition is
It is
yuktam,
mithya,
logical to be mithya. Mithya means what? Mithya usually means what? Mithya means usually means false. Mithya means false, but here it means that that is denied. It cannot. It is something which we can deny, because it is not possible. It is impossible. What is impossible? The superimposition of two things which are so contradictory to one another and their attributes, just like light and darkness are contradictory, they cannot be superimposed on one another, just like their attributes also cannot be superimposed on one another. This is what the objection is. Now we will see one every aspect of the objection in detail. Now this is the objection. Now we will see one by one each part of that objection in detail. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.